Hello, everybody, and welcome to the interview room on this amazing Sunday, the Lord's Day. We are so grateful to each and every one of you from around the world that's here with us tonight. Who do we have? Miss Sophia, our amazing mod out of Canada, Maui girl out of Hawaii, Laura out of Canada, Teresa M out of Texas, and Mimi out of Arizona. We love you all, mods. Thank you for keeping our chat classy, and thank you for being here from Australia, from Arizona, from Arkansas, Houston, Southern California. So grateful to each and every one of you who are here this evening. We have a show ahead that's going to blow your mind. Sweden's in the house. Sydney, Australia. Top of the morning to you. In Ireland. And good day, mate, in Australia. Mississippi.
Happy Sunday. I'm going to interrupt for a sec. Happy Sunday. Happy Thanksgiving week to everybody in the United States.
Brazil's here. Obrigado. Massachusetts, pack the can, Boston Harbor. Worcester, UK. Our friends in the UK. We love you guys. Thank you all for being here. Hey, honey, I'm wearing a unique shirt.
Yes, you are. Do you want to show everybody your very unique shirt now that it's the holiday season?
It is the holiday season. And
what does it say? Oh, Griswold.
It's my official Griswold holiday shirt. But why am I wearing the holiday shirt, hon?
That's a great question. Because
Turkey
it's really
Day's,
more about Christmas than Thanksgiving.
yeah. And Turkey Day's like still 4 or 5 days off, right?
Yep.
Okay. But what was Griswold looking for when he went out on a limb to do something? Everybody remember that? Marty Moose right here. Here he is. Yeah. I take
And by the way, if you can't tell, that is vacation, or what is it called? Christmas Vacation. Sorry.
Christmas Vacation.
It's Chris's favorite movie of all time.
Of all time. It's like when Cousin Eddie came over and he went to, Clark went to lean over and kiss his niece, and he goes, I take a rain check on that, Clark. She's got a lip fungus we haven't identified yet. I mean, who doesn't love that? I mean, come on. Oh, thank you, Teresa. Everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much, Teresa, for gifting the TIR memberships.
And those of you who got one of our TIR memberships, we're grateful to each and every one of you. But you know what? So Clark was looking for a specific type of bonus check. Right, hon?
Yeah, he was. He was planning on putting in a swimming pool with that money from that bonus check.
That's right. That's exactly right. And, in that bonus check, it would have changed the entire trajectory of the Griswold family. And so I got to thinking, with all the digging that you've been doing about money and stuff from the state to the University of Idaho, and everybody's preparing for the holiday season, except, there's been some arguments about, who's going to pay what to the family. And, Bryan just lost a a hearing where he's been ordered, to take care of it, etc. But I think we were wrong about the defense. And your email that you sent, what was that email? I can't remember that you sent you got a response back from the governor's office. You remember what that one that we talked
Yeah,
about?
that was a few weeks ago, yeah. What Chris is talking about is right after we did the show a few Sundays ago, we had Christy and Steve Goncalves on, the parents of Kaylee Goncalves, one of the University of Idaho students killed by Bryan Kohberger. Right after that video aired, I got a letter from the Idaho governor's press director, and she told me that she watched the show and I was inaccurate. She said I had inaccurate information. And what she was talking about was, if you guys remember, the Idaho governor pledged $1 million to the University of Idaho right after the murders took place, and they were searching for the killer. And this was right around the holidays, right around Thanksgiving, and tons of kids from that school genuinely had major concerns and were fearful and left the campus and didn't come back. And there was kind of that whole state of nobody really knew how this was going to all shake out. And that's when the governor pledged that money. Well, she said I was inaccurate. She said that money wasn't pledged to the University of Idaho, but it was pledged to the Idaho State Police. And I told her, well, I don't think that's right, because Scott Green, University of Idaho president, wrote about it in his book, of which we have a copy. And he says right in the book on page 356 that Idaho governor pledged the money and it was going to the University of Idaho. So I wrote her back and I said, well, I don't think I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, you're going to have to show me where the money went. Well, that was a few weeks ago. We haven't heard back from them. So we're still waiting. Still waiting to hear.
And we had two questions. First of all, why is somebody from the governor's office watching a show where the victims' families are appearing? That was the first question. Okay. And of course, we started doing the math, and then now recently, a couple of days ago, we see that the victim's family was told by the court and by the DA's office and by the defense, well, if you want to get some money for your family expenses, et cetera, and recoup it because Thompson made a mistake, well, then you have to hire a civil attorney and you have to sue to get that money. Imagine being re-victimized over and over and over again, and now having the hindsight, looking back and thinking about, wow, the governor's office has been monitoring everywhere that the Goncalveses go. Steve and Christy, every channel they go on, and I'm assuming all the other families that's happening to as well. But then we see just most recently that the family has filed a civil lawsuit to, as they were probably told, and maybe it was in the pipeline before, I don't know. Okay. But I really thought it was interesting. And then when she says, hey, by the way, that money went to the Idaho State Police. It didn't go anyplace else but ISP. Okay. And the university didn't get any of that money. It all went to the Idaho State Police. Allegedly. And so Karen reaches out and says, okay, fine. Do you have the receipts? Because it's funded and it went somewhere. And then, of course, when you go back and you look at the bill, it's bill.
That would be the Idaho State bill.
The Idaho State Bill 222, and I'm going to read it verbatim, provides a supplemental appropriation of $1 million to the University of Idaho. to cover costs related to a security incident for fiscal year 2023. And we thought to ourselves, wait a minute, the governor said we were wrong.
His own office emailed us saying we were wrong. It's his bill. He's the one that introduced it.
Yeah, shut the front door. You've got to be kidding me. We are crazy wrong. So does this budget contain hidden fund transfer or supplemental expenditures that work to enact new policy or are non-valid emergency expenditures? That was the question of the Idaho Freedom Foundation, who tracked the bill. So let's find out what that bill covered. House Bill 222 covers security incident cost associated with the murders of 4 students near the University of Idaho campus last November. It was noted that these funds will be used to cover the cost of Idaho State Police Services, increased security, a safe shuttle service, is Idaho State Police have a shuttle business now? I'm asking for the taxpayers. Counseling services. Is Idaho State Police sitting and counseling students? A vigil. Did the ISP pay for the vigil? And consulting services for media. Does ISP need consulting services for media?
Which, by the way, we covered in a video quite a bit ago. And we're going to revisit that because my memory of the consulting services, they paid a firm $500,000 or 2 separate firms in the neighborhood of $400,000 or $500,000 each for so-called consulting services for media, which I find very interesting because there was a gag order for 2.5 years. I'm not sure who was doing what, but that kind of jumps out at me. Doesn't really make sense.
Well, and this is where it gets really interesting. Social media and then compliance. What are they complying with? What's the compliance prerequisite? Because, by the way, this bill has morphed into a emergency fund and a requirement to put up websites now for state fund expenditures. So basically, this was a dark money, meaning it was a one-time appropriation that was sent out from the legislators, authorized by the governor. And when we started asking questions about it, we were told, well, you're wrong. Okay, so they haven't sent us the receipts on where it was spent on media, where it was spent on a compliance and physical security review. Karen, weren't there a bunch of consultants hired and paid?
Yeah, there were definitely. And there was no accounting to the public for any of that money. And if it's state money going to a state school, there has to be an accounting. They can't just say, we're not giving it to you. I mean, I don't know what they would hide behind because it's very clear that if you're using public funds, they have to be accountable to the public. And, it's just totally unacceptable to say you're not releasing it. Or, I mean, listen, the governor's office, the Idaho governor's office said, well, we have to get that money, the amount of money that was spent from ISP. And I said, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense because you guys authorized it. And I've used this analogy. It seems to me, and I could be wrong, but it seems like if a father gives a son, for example, money, okay, for expenses, and instead of going to the father and saying, hey, let me see how much you spent, let me look at your checkbook, whatever, it's like going to the son and saying, how much did you get from your dad? Well, how about going to the source and having the source tell us what was the dollar amount? I have to say, it's been really frustrating in trying to get a myriad of information from many different state and county entities in the state of Idaho regarding these murders and the case. You guys know we're reporting back to you, and that's why we're doing the show tonight, because we wanted to share with you what we had just gotten back from Latah County. We're going to get into that, but you know, the whole thing is really interesting. It goes to, like, for example, the Public Records Act request. I find it really curious the timing that the state of Idaho, through the legislature, changed how they release public information through Public Records Act requests in July of this year. Well, in July of this year is when the hastily reached plea deal was reached. And we were told, well, these agencies and entities are going to be releasing information because there wasn't a trial. We're going to be going through, redacting information. Even Judge Hippler said the court's going to do that. They have. It's been rather slow. And that's just one example. And what they changed was, if you are not from the state of Idaho, if you're not a resident or doing business or live in the state of Idaho, they can take longer, they can take more time to respond to your public records request. As one minor thing, you guys know we've like so many other creators and media and people on social media have been filing public records requests to get this information. And I'd say 99% of the time, I'm told per Idaho law, they don't have to release it.
Yeah.
So
all we want to do is be positive and talk about, what are the upsides and, without an accountability of this money. It's kind of like saying, well, I had a smile when the guy walked in the bank and put a gun to my head. Okay. Well, yeah, let's be positive about that for sure. Because essentially all we're asking for and holding accountable are our government officials who work for the people. Okay. And they work for the victims of violent crimes. Okay. They shouldn't have to go to court and hear about their child not having the funeral expenses covered per a plea agreement. So I think it's important that we spend a lot of time in a positive route talking about the upside here for the defense. It's a great segue into what's happened here. So Karen went a little bit further and reached out November 19th, 2025. And honey, you want to explain this one?
This is the letter I got back. So my letter to them was a formal public records request, which was several weeks prior. And I heard back from them on the 19th. So that was 4 days ago. And Chris can scroll up. So on this one, we wanted to find out the total amount of money paid out to the defense of Bryan Kohberger. That means everybody on his defense team. What did the taxpayers of Latah County have to spend? That was the very simple question. And so we got back this letter, and I was disappointed. And here's why. Okay. And then it says, as to your request for, if you guys can read that, here's what I asked. The total amount. No. I'm reading. Go up. Wait, scroll up a little, honey. A little bit more. Stop. Okay. So I asked for the total amount paid out to the attorneys, Ann Taylor, Alyssa Massoth, Becca Barlow, and I always get his name wrong, Logston. And also the amount of money paid to the Kohberger defense investigators and any mitigation experts in the case. After all, everybody was going to trial. This thing was queued up and ready to go. So all of these players would have been, doing their work for a number of years. So I was disappointed because we got back the amount of money that Latah County paid out in 2023 and 2024. Interestingly enough, in 2025, at the start of their fiscal year 2025, they said, do we have that? Oh, yeah, I have it. So we didn't get 2025's amount. It says, please note that as of October 1st, 2024, the State Public Defender's Office pays for public defender contracts and expenses rather than Latah County. So I said, that's kind of interesting. So I went and Googled, Idaho State Public Defender's Office. Well, it turns out that was a brand new office that they created on October 1st, 2024, which I find interesting. And so we
across the state, right? Karen?
Across the state. Yeah. So this is it's the Idaho's Public Defender's Office that oversees all of the county public defenders, one would assume. And Chris, you can go on their website too if we want to call it up and take a look at it. So I reached out to them to say, okay, I'm requesting the 2025 for fiscal year 2025. How much did you guys pay out for the defense? Okay. Haven't heard back yet. We have not heard back yet.
We have not heard back yet. And so
but we wanted to show you what we did have. We're not waiting on a state bureaucracy to respond or not respond. It's important enough, so we're going ahead with what we do have.
Okay, so what haven't we received overall so far? We don't have an expenditure of alleged money that went to ISP when the bill clearly said it went to the university to be used for ISP services based on what Bill 222's just said. I could be wrong. Let's see. They haven't sent us anything to tell us differently other than the amount, okay, other than the amount of whatever it was, $400,000 that they allegedly spent, okay? We still don't know how they paid for tearing the house down because the University of Idaho was present during that day, as everybody remembers, okay? We still don't know how that got paid, and we still believe in the very beginning of that whole thing, that was put into motion almost immediately, which kind of gave us pause to think, wait a minute, did they already have a plan that they were going to rush this thing through and never, ever go to trial? What, was this, a problem, from the get-go? We don't know. We just asked the question. You guys asked the question, even today, what do you think, right? And we still don't have those particular answers. Now we get this letter here saying, hey, not a problem. You want to know how much was spent? Okay, so Karen went down that rabbit hole and asked specifically, well, how much did Latah County pay the public defender's services? How much did it cost the taxpayers in that area? Okay. And what she discovered is going to be really interesting. We were wrong.
We were wrong.
We were
Listen,
wrong.
We tout when we're right and we admit when we're wrong.
And and we're going to get to what we were wrong about. Okay. So here's an email back to you 3 days ago. And Karen, what's the background behind this email?
Right. So I was sent 2 separate 77-page reports, one for fiscal year 2023 and one for fiscal year 2024. And I, what's that, 154 pages? And I wrote back to this person and I said, hang on, I want to read this put Bob's comment. Hang on, I want to see Bob's comment. Sorry. 435 of the $1 million is used to reimburse, and Moscow works the remainder. Yeah, Bob, to your question, they said it's sitting in the emergency fund. They hadn't used it. And we said, well, show us the receipts. We'd like to see exactly what was spent. But anyway, so back to this, this email is up on the screen. I said, you're sending me 154 pages. I'm asking a really simple question. Where do I find how much you spent on the defense? And so this is that it's under what line item? I know we're getting the weeds here, but trust us, follow us on this. So it's the budget line called Public Defender Extraordinary Services. So I was able to find that in all the papers that they sent. Now, why they didn't just send me that one page for 2023 and one for 2024, who knows, right?
We don't have that answer.
We have no idea. But so now that I knew what line item to look at, I said, okay, let's go comb through these papers and find how much they spent in each year.
Exactly, Kelly. Does this look familiar with the 2000 Friday page dump from ISP and all the lab stuff? I mean, who could have gone through that stuff fast enough other than Superwoman down below me here?
You just got to wonder. It's like, well, if you're so reluctant to release stuff, then why are you dumping documents? Just give us what we ask for. We don't need everything else. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. I truly believe you were wrong. The grant from the governor of one man, the owner granted the house with the write-off. The feds granted their resources. Yeah, it actually, that's an interesting point, Vet Girl.
Thank you, Vet Girl.
Appreciate you. A very interesting point. But I don't think we're wrong yet on what the track that we're on in terms of the totality of where all the money is. And can I ask everybody a favor? Because what we're about to show you, you're going to go, trust me. If you would just hit the thumbs up, there's 1,200 people here. If you would just hit the thumbs up, we would be grateful for that, because this video then will hit the algorithm and it will get up there. That's the only thing we ask, because, and I'm sorry, did I say wrong? No, Vet Girl, we love you. You know that. You've been a huge
well, we're going to clarify once we drop this information on you, then we're going to clarify what we meant by we were wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And here's, okay. I'm going to go to this page, and this is the general page that they sent you that you had to go through. I don't remember what page number this was, but it was a lot. And then you had to pull this up. So here's their expenditures.
Okay, so this is just for fiscal year 2023. This is 1 year. Okay, so it says they paid $730,378. Year one. Let's call it year one. It's the first full year that Ann Taylor and her defense team would have been defending BK. Right, Chris?
Yep. And so right down here, line item 488-0002. Okay. That one is, well, first of all, the public defender contract. So she's a contract attorney. So she gets a contract under line item 488-0001 of $481,932. And then under line item 2, she gets $730,379, which you just talked about, Karen. And then the public defender professional help, she got another.
We don't know. We have an email back, Chris. We don't. They are claiming those line items don't go for BK's defense. Take it for what you will. They told me, I have an email. This is the single line item. It's called Public Defender Extraordinary Services. And this was what they paid the defense team, not just Ann Taylor, but like the total amount. Again, I'm taking them at their word. This is what they're telling me.
So, but they are saying for Kohberger, this public defender extraordinary services, that's him.
Correct. Yeah.
So that piece of the puzzle is $730,379 for what year?
2023.
2023, from October 22 to September of 23. So Ann Taylor's team pocketed $730,379. Correct, Karen?
That's only in the first year.
Okay,
Yep.
so
Let's go to the next year.
next year, and if anybody's got a calculator, you're going to love this. Okay, so this is October
2024.
23 to September 24. How much did she make that year?
So that year she made, hang on, let me go to mine because you're not going to be able to read it. $1,931,086. $1.9 million. What I found interesting about this, so if you look to the left on that left column, original budget amount, they budgeted $1 million. They ended up paying out 1.93. So they blew their budget, to double. And that's how much she and her team were paid in 2024. Now, don't forget, remember, they said that's all that they provided. They said, well, if you want the 2025 numbers, you have to go to this brand new state office that we just created and have them, because they're now paying out the contracts. So I did a little quick math.
Okay,
Being the journalist I am,
let me
math ain't my strong suit.
But show your chart so far.
Okay. So bear with me, guys. So 2023, defense gets this amount. 2024, defense gets this amount. 2025, we don't know, right? But right. So the key, what's missing is from October of 2024 to October of 2025. Now,
so let's use
2024's number. Let's say this is 1.9. Okay. The grand total is 4.59. I think that's what I got. 4.59 million. Again, we don't have 25 numbers. If we're going to use conservatively 2024, I mean, think about it. If they were headed to trial in 2025, it's probably a lot more than 1.9. Okay. So we're talking 4.59 million just for the defense. Just for the defense that ended in a plea deal. Exactly.
And
exactly.
Kathy, to answer your question, it would not include the experts because they would not be paid out of this line item. This goes to the public defenders, all the attorneys. Okay. The state would also pay for the experts. The court would order the experts be paid through that direction. So
that's right.
I hope that answered your question. So think about that. $4.5 million potentially. And by the way, she's still...
And that's a conservative amount. That's a conservative amount.
Yeah. And the numbers don't lie. If we look at this number here, $1,931,015. This is reported, okay, by the government of Idaho. In Latah County, you guys spent $1,931,015 on clothes and shoes because they got a plea deal. And guess what? There is no way on this earth the family's going to get reimbursed for funeral expenses and their children.
And Chris, something else to keep in mind. So this is the piece, you guys, where we said we were wrong. We did a show or a couple of shows on this a while back, and Ann Taylor's hourly rate was $200. So her rate, we knew this right up front at the beginning when her team was assembled, and we knew she was getting $200 an hour. And Chris and I did some math, and we thought, okay, obviously not knowing how many years it's going to take to get this trial, etc. Chris, do you remember what you came up with? I mean, you definitely said she was going to make $1 million, but
yeah.
I think our numbers were far lower than what this shows.
So we were wrong. We underestimated the total cost. It was actually almost 3 times the amount, almost 4 times the amount. I estimated it would probably be 1 to 1.5. And if you guys remember, okay, you can go back and look. Okay. So my quote was wrong. And thus the title of the thumbnail. Okay.
Right.
Now, go ahead.
Let me say this. Okay. So why is this important? Why is this important? Again, it goes to the taxpayers of Idaho and Latah County paid for this. So we forgive your bad, Matt. Thank you, Kika. This is, why shouldn't we know about this? Okay. Now, are we going to look at what the prosecution, how much was spent on that? Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Although Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings, they have a set salary. I guess the obvious question would be, did they get overtime? Did they bill for overtime? I don't know. But this defense amount is staggering. This is one piece of this. Don't forget, you guys, the 4.59 or whatever this is million is just a part of this. And again, the taxpayers in Idaho and Latah County, they have a right to know. They absolutely have a right to know. And do we know if there's going to be an impact, to Latah? I mean, are we going to hear at the end of the fiscal year that Latah County is struggling financially, is in a deficit? Are they going to have to raise taxes on them? I mean, who knows? These are obvious logical questions to ask. There's always an implication. And, everybody has a right to know, specifically the taxpayers who foot this bill.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense now. Delay, delay, delay. And that's why all of those, and I'm not going to say that, pat myself on the back for a second, but in this one, I think I was hitting some curveballs that were coming in because, everybody was worried about, this and that, et cetera. And I said, no, this is a money play. This is a money play from the get-go. And what's really scary here is it was a money play for the defense, okay? And it was a PR play, evident of the fact they got $1 million, and part of that went to a public relations scheme. I mean, let's look at that one more time for a second, shall we? So you don't forget what this bill actually went to, okay? Meaning what the university got money, an extra $1 million, by the way. And by the way, that same time frame, they got, I think, a $53 or $59 million grant for climate change. Okay. So this was kind of the freak out that Scott Green was having, that at the same time these homicides are going down, he may be losing money, which is on the chopping block now, by the way. The new administration said, sorry, we're not doing wind, we're not doing all this other stuff. So some of your research money is going away. I think it's like 53 something money. But that aside, the governor's office says, hey, we're going to give you $1 million for consulting services for media. Why does the ISP, I want to ask the governor's office, need a media consultant? Oh, wait a minute. The university in Scott Green's book talked about how they got the team together and they created a media narrative. All on the backs of these 4 victims. And everybody up there is saying, leave it alone, McDonough, make it go away, get on with it and all this other stuff. No. These children did not deserve to die sleeping in their house with some guy that a university already knew he was off his rocker. And when he pulled it off, now he's sitting over in the prison here in Kuna, complaining about bananas. The type of bananas he's getting. And the size of his cell. Okay. And meanwhile, the university is now playing shell games. Again, well, you have to wait till we get it from these guys. We created this new, bill, another bill. It's an attachment to 222. Okay. And, by the way, you're the victim's family? Yeah. We made a mistake on the deal. Thompson, I made a mistake. And then they fire off this letter to them, to the family.
Do you have a copy of that letter, Chris?
Let me pull it up.
Yeah. Some of you may not be aware of this letter. And while Chris is finding it, I'll just kind of set it up. So this is a letter from Bill Thompson to, I believe, 2 of the families, Maddie Mogen's family and Kaylee Goncalves' family. And in this letter, he says, he doesn't even apologize, but in the letter it said, well, when I made the plea deal, I thought you guys could get reimbursed for your travel expenses, but that's not the case, i.e., I was wrong, he was wrong. And the letter was like, we have to show it to you guys, because for the families at this point to get this letter from the prosecutor, it was just another gut punch. It had to be. And
I'm
it
pulling
just
it up. Sorry, it's going
shows.
to take me a couple
Yeah, no, that's fine. This letter, the tone, the beginning, the end, I tell you what, your heart just breaks for the families, the victims' families. They keep getting re-victimized. And I tell Chris all the time, like when we're talking about this case, I'm like, let me get this right. That hasty plea deal that Bill Thompson had to get done immediately. One of the BS reasons they listed, well, we don't want the families to get victimized, repeatedly victimized. This ends years of appeal where the case never goes away, et cetera, et cetera. And I told Chris, and you guys know, this is a case that will not end. The people who have a stake in this case are for some reason making this not end. The fact that after the plea deal, after the sentencing, that victims' families have to get a letter like this from the prosecutor, it's just sickening.
I'm trying to find it, hon. I don't know where I put it. I'm sorry. I'll find it, everybody. Just give me a couple of minutes. Sorry.
Okay. So anyway, maybe if you guys have some questions, we can answer some of your questions. But, Chris and I just really feel like, again, this whole money aspect of this is important because it does tell a story. It absolutely tells a story. And, it's like, who profited the most from this? I know that's sickening, but it's going to be clearly the defense, clearly the University of Idaho, the fact that Scott Green, the president, wrote a book 2 years before the trial was scheduled. And it just kind of goes on and on from there.
Well,
So,
while we're doing that, while I'm
yeah.
looking for my letter and I can't find it right now, but we have it. And if I can't find it, guys, I will make sure to post it.
Yeah,
So
that's
this
a good idea. We can post it once we find it.
this was April 15th. Okay, this was an article, and where he vetoed a bill, hopes to retain control more than $500,000 in emergency funding he rejected. You know, these numbers aren't even going to line up. They're not even going to line up. Okay. I have a stinking suspicion they paid to tear that house down with state funds. I don't know why I'm saying that, but it's just the math isn't mathing, as Vet Girl says. Okay. Something's wrong in River City here. So the governor tries to retain control more than $500,000 in emergency funding after he rejected part of a bill lawmakers passed in the last few days, in the last legislative session. Little signed off on the other elements of House Bill 482, but vetoed the line item Monday evening that would eliminate the governor's emergency fund by transferring the remaining $652 in the pool to the state general fund. So basically, he's trying to create his own little slush fund.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know that exactly. We're not sure.
He vetoed a bill that would have moved that money automatically, and it looks like he's trying to keep the rest of the money. Is what this article is saying. In a news release, Little pointed to his use of the funding in the past few years, which included his pledge to provide $1 million to support law enforcement with the homicide investigation of 4 University of Idaho students in Moscow. He also used the fund to pay for trips to the U.S.-Mexican border that he helped his initiative tackle the fentanyl crisis. Now we're getting somewhere. So he says, well, that money was all for ISP. And when somebody started digging, they find out that he's funding flights to the border under the guise of fentanyl prevention. Okay.
That seems strange for the state of Idaho. I would be asking a ton of questions.
Well, that's what, I know, right, hon?
That doesn't even sound right.
That's what we're doing here. This is great.
This is the first I've seen of this as well.
Little can use the fund in any emergency that the legislators couldn't reasonably foresee under state law. So basically, he created this slush fund of $1 million by giving it to the university. According to what they're saying, they didn't use it all. So you asked the question, well, where's the remainder? And what was the answer from everybody?
No answer. They didn't answer it.
Yeah, you have to ask Idaho State Police, or, well, we'll get you the receipts. Well, guess what? We haven't seen the receipts. And now we're seeing maybe why. So anyway, emergency fund aids Idaho State Police. Before police found Bryan Kohberger, the suspect accused of killing the 4 college students in November 22, Little committed up to $1 million to help fund the sprawling investigation. That's not what the bill said. Okay. About 435. This makes sense. All they did was quote the news article.
Exactly.
I love America. Would you please hit that thumb again for us, everybody? Please hit that thumb and send it. Let's send this into the algorithm and get the governor on the phone to answer these questions. This is great.
Yeah, let's make this widely known. People need to know this. I know it's just one piece, but, follow the money, right?
Yeah, it's $435 from the fund was used to reimburse Idaho State Police and Moscow Police Department.
But meanwhile, nobody has been given an accounting. Don't just tell me you're reimbursing ISP. Tell me where the $435,000 went. And if some of it went to Moscow PD, tell me that as well. I mean, this is like not rocket science. Idaho acts like they've never had media scrutiny. I mean, it infuriates me. You guys can tell. I don't even understand. I had a job. My job was the public information officer for a police department. I had to answer to the media for the public. And every time it was like, okay, there's no reason why we can't be straight and tell you what the truth is. It just, this blows my mind. You know, again, going back to the governor's communications director who reached out to us, she could have those numbers in an afternoon, if that. We're waiting weeks. And you know what? I hope she's watching this episode. And, you know, we're still waiting. And we're going to keep pressing you. Public has a right to know. It's the public's funds. It's the public's trust. Be up front. That's what we're saying.
Well, this is crazy because here it goes, taxpayers' cost for the Moscow homicides case have continued to climb. At Kohberger awaits. You know, True Girl said that.
Wow.
Thank you. That is
you,
unnecessary.
True Cal girl.
Well, thank you. We love you. Thank you.
Wow.
Anyway, crazy. Taxpayer costs for the homicides continue to climb. Kohberger awaits his chance for a defense at trial and remains jailed. And by the way, this was back, and Bob sent this to us, Karen.
Oh, okay.
This
cool.
was back in
Thanks,
April
Bob.
of 2025. Okay. Now here's where it's interesting. They're reimbursing. Let's see, the University of Idaho shouldered the brunt of the cost. And again, they reported that $1 million for security, counseling, shuttles, etc. $1 million. Well, we know for a fact that just tonight we have figured out that Ann Taylor probably made close to her team probably made close to 4.5. So if we take 3.6, is that most of it to the defense? Or it's, you know, because they're saying here, from what I can see, and you tell me if I'm wrong, is it looks like the majority of that money was on top of that 4.5 may have been on top of 3.6. And I think this would have been motivation for Thompson to take the death penalty off the table because it became a dollars and cents versus a justice.
They even said so. If you recall, go back to the articles right around that, right after the plea agreement, the two of the reasons, stated reasons for the plea agreement. One of them was the high cost of taking that to trial. What? Infuriating. And the second was, well, we don't want to re-victimize the victims' families with years of appeal if the defendant gets the death penalty and then sits on death row, and then the appeals go on for years and years. Those were two of the stated reasons. Yeah, absolutely, Teresa, right? And I mean, that should never be, money should never be a consideration when seeking justice. And just to that point, this is one thing I just don't understand. I don't know if I'm ever going to understand it. Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings were early into that crime scene. They walked in later that day. They saw how horrific this was. They saw these college students in their bedrooms, right? I mean, just I don't want to go through all of it, but you guys know the horror. Okay. These prosecutors actually walked in there and saw. Most prosecutors don't have that firsthand knowledge for a reason. They're kept separate. They don't want to be on the witness list. Obviously, they can't. But how does Bill Thompson walk out of that crime scene and not say to himself, I'm going to fight for justice. I'm going to get this SOB no matter what. We're going to pin this person to the wall. Whoever did this, we're going to seek justice. We never saw that. We never, ever, ever saw it. And how does this end? In a rushed plea deal that left the families hanging out to dry? It's sickening.
It is. And the longer it takes them to drip these types of reports and stuff like that out, that it just doesn't, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. And look over here, hon. This is what I was talking about. This paragraph right here. Remember, they tell us, oh, that money is all for ISP. Okay. But not according to this article. Emergency Fund aids Idaho State Police is the headline, but look at the content that they write here. Before police found Bryan Kohberger, the suspect accused of killing the 4 college students November 22, Little committed up to $1 million to help fund the sprawling investigation. So he says, here's $1 million, Bill 222. About $435 from the fund was used to reimburse ISP and the Moscow Police Department, which had a total budget of $6.5 million. Since when do state funds fund a municipal law enforcement agency?
Yeah, I don't think they do.
That's weird.
Municipalities get a small amount from the state.
Yeah, it's called tax.
Well, and not only that, if you go back to that, if the governor is willing to spend $1 million, then why isn't Bill Thompson willing to spend the money to take it to trial? We should have heard no amount of money is going to prevent me from taking this guy to trial. We have to seek justice for 4 families. Brad Little, the governor, pledged $1 million. Why couldn't some of that money have been used if Latah County was too poor to put on a proper trial?
And to answer Roxanne here, is it possible for the feds to take the case? Okay, that's a great question. We have said, Karen and I have said, based on what even Hitler said, and I'm not going to quote him exactly, but everybody will remember. Well, yes, we'll accept the plea deal. However, everybody knows, essentially, an appeal is always possible. Okay. And then he cited the case laws. And we did a show on it. Okay. So if he got an appeal, if somebody takes, and if an appellate, attorney takes it up to the state appellate courts and the state go, well, no, there's no way, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, because he traveled over state lines, he left Idaho and went to Pennsylvania, the feds could come in and take a look and go, hey, wait a minute. This is now a federal jurisdiction because he was moving. So at that point, could they take it on? I don't know. With the deal that they made, in that deal, Thompson can't even get his math right. And the defense found that loophole. So if you now throw this at a death penalty appellate level and the attorneys at that level, I'm not going to say they can't find a loophole. Evident of the fact that right now, Kohberger says, well, I'm not paying that. And so the judge says, well, the deal's off then. Remember, he just said this a week ago. Well, what does that mean? Well, then they all go to trial. Bring it on. And with all this evidence out there already, but I don't think Bryan Kohberger cares. I don't think he cares. I mean, Karen, what do you think?
Listen, if Ann Taylor's staying on the case, maybe she doesn't. Okay, she'll jump back in for another, whatever, $4 million. I mean, the whole thing it's unbelievable. It shouldn't have been this foobarred. I mean, most cases have a beginning, a middle, and an end,
That's
right?
why I love this girl.
Fudged up. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all
The
messed
family
up.
show. All messed up. The fact, I mean, these are great questions. The fact that we're even discussing this, hang on, let me read this. Evenly flip. Yeah.
Exactly. That girl, this is exactly, I think strategically, she was thinking already ahead and seeing Bryan in jail. And she lawyered him again. And
well,
go ahead,
she did, because she did what capital defense attorneys' job, their number one job, as we know, is to get death off the table. If they can have their client not get the death penalty and they get life in prison, that's a win for the defense attorney. That's what we're told. So congratulations. It took about $4.5 million of the Latah County taxpayers' money to do it.
Yeah. And
It's just a fact.
It's not over. And the dual sovereignty doctrine, exactly. It's not, I'm not going to say it's over yet. I've said from the beginning, Bryan Kohberger, once they made that deal with him and did not make him stand up and tell the world, okay, this is what I did and why I did it. Well, guess what? All that knowledge is right here for him. And he's reliving this over and over and over again. And don't you think for a moment he doesn't have all of his court documents in his cell, or at least have access to them? And don't you think for a moment he doesn't have those photographs of the crime scenes and him reliving his fantasy and playing it out internally in that holding cell? And what's interesting, recently he's been complaining about, the size of his holding cell and, like I mentioned, bananas, he's not getting the right bananas and all this other stuff. Okay. And he's writing the staff up left and right. He's doing his little complaints about the staff. Okay. CNK, they have no reason to deny his motion the week before legally at all. Do you agree? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the court was thinking, but I think the court realizes that he caught a mistake from Thompson, and Thompson had to eat crow and send a letter to the family, that letter that I still can't find. It's in one of my hard drives, and it's not, I got to type in the right thing, but I'll have it for you guys. I promise I'll show you the letter. But even Hitler is going, this could open up a can of worms. This could open up a can of worms. And you know what was interesting about that one video, now that you brought this up, Linda? In that video, remember, that was leaked by the staff employee. Did you notice on the hospital bed, and I said it was probably, if it was legit, I wasn't convinced at first. With AI, you never know, right? So I took a conservative opinion on that. But it turns out that it was legit. And when I went back and looked at it a second time, did you notice the remote controls is sitting on the bed? It's like he's in summer camp. Yeah, I'll just sit back and watch TV. Meanwhile, I slaughtered 4 people, and I'm the only one going to tell the story. And meanwhile, people are sending him what? How much was the total amount? 5 figures in his
$28,000.
In his commissary account.
Unreal.
Right? Right? Exactly. I know. This is exactly. And thank you for your service. Okay? Thank you for your service. But could you imagine, walking by this guy every single day looking in, and as you're going by, he's going, "Hey, my bananas have a bruise." Oh well.
Well, I tell you, Chris, the thing that gets me well beyond that junk is in Hitler's one of his last motions, BK can sell his story and make money while in prison. He's not precluded. The son of Sam law there's a loophole and he can do it. Now, is that happening? Is that going to happen? Who knows? Will the money, if he does make any money from a media appearance or whatever, a book, a TV show, TV movie, whatever, part of that money, it's my understanding, 20% gets moved over to the victims' restitution fund, if not more. But the fact that that's an outlier sitting out there, we're going to wake up one day, whenever it's going to be, and who knows if it's going to be a network news sit-down interview with him, whoever's going to pay him for this, jail, prison interview, who knows? But the fact that the judge prepped us by saying, well, he can legally do that and he's going to make money from that is like, it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, you know what? You and I, Karen, have had many talks with Steve and Christy and others. And the one thing I have told people, and them specifically, this is not over. And he's going to tell his story one day. The reason why, he has to maintain dominance, power, and control. And he right now holds all of those cards in that prison cell. And no matter how much everybody at U of I and in the surrounding town wanted all to go away, you will forever be known as the town where Bryan Kohberger killed 4 innocent college students. It will never go away. Just ask Milwaukee and Jeffrey Dahmer. Just ask Wichita, Kansas and Dennis Rader. You own it. Now what you have to do is accept it and you move on. Because unfortunately, to the victims' families who have lost a child, will never, ever be normal again. Life will feel normal, but there's always going to be this idea behind the scenes of where's Kaylee, where's Xana, where's Ethan, where's Maddie? The empty chair at the Thanksgiving table coming up next Thursday. Karen and I know what that chair feels like. We're 21 years into it. And every year there's an empty chair. And all of the what ifs play out. And many of you in our chat and many of you in your lives have experienced the exact same depth of pain that many of others have felt. And these families are just getting started, sadly. They are now into 3 years of no Christmases, no Thanksgiving, no birthdays, no nothing. So it's easy for Thompson to say, well, we just need to move on, because that's what Santa Claus is going to do. But that's not the reality for victims of violent crimes and victims' families, not the suspects' families, in my opinion. That's a whole nother conversation. Okay? Because we don't know what the timetables are going to be for them. But if they dip into the waters and start writing books and start making movies and start doing all this other stuff to pocket off of the work of their family members, we've had a paradigm shift in our culture, and evil is good and good is evil. And we need to take a hard look at that stuff too, in my opinion. If Matthew Checky's mom, or if Brandon Wilson's mom came out and started talking about the work of her dead son killing Matthew, or the other, hundreds of murder victims, families, and the suspects' families, good grief. What have we become? Where Bryan Kohberger is sitting there in his head punishing the victims' families just in the argument of funeral expenses. Wait till he starts to tell his story. Guys and gals, all of us are going to be going, holy cow, what in the world is going on here? Now, and everybody knows he's going to do it. Luigi's going to do it. They're wearing Luigi hats and costumes. And this is a problem. But I'm with you, Karen. I don't think it's over yet. I think he's going to tell it, and somebody is going to circle around him and say, we'll tell it for you. Here's a check. Where do you want it to go? And he's going to say, mommy, mother, father. Remember in his phone, red hair, birthing hips. That's how he sees people. Just one word. One description. It will be very interesting to see how it's all going to play out. It really will be. And yeah. Thoughts on that, Karen?
All of this sickens me like so many other people. And we just always have to remember to keep the victims at the forefront and their families, and to always remember the victims here. And we always like to say their name: Kaylee Goncalves, Maddy Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Those are the brilliant, beautiful young lives that were taken needlessly and way too soon. And that's where we need to, remember, we can't do anything about future movie deals or future book deals or whatnot for the defendant, the killer, the admitted killer, but we can keep the victims' families in our thoughts and prayers, especially this holiday season coming up with Thanksgiving this week, and to remember their beautiful children.
Yeah, that's so well said. I hope everybody has a place to go this holiday on Thanksgiving Day. If you don't, I may do something to be with you like we did last Christmas last year, and then we did New Year's. There are some folks, our channel members and our subscribers, that don't have somebody around them. Karen and I consider you family, all of you, and we're just so grateful for your kindness, for your support, and just the love that you show us, but more importantly, the love that you show everybody else. And our chat is always just so respectful. And, you know, we try to get along with everybody. They don't necessarily, you know, agree with me all the time or agree with Karen, but that's okay. That's what this place is about. So as we get closer to Thanksgiving, I'm going to weigh that out. But if you don't have somebody, I may come up Thanksgiving for a little bit just to visit with you, and we can share some ideas. And also this week, I'm going to break down a little bit more. I'm going to dive into summer with some of the changes, Summer Wells case that have been taking place. You know, there's a lot of moving parts here. Those of you who saw me on the lab with Josh, and I'm real curious of what Doc Mercado is thinking about what Bryan's going through internally in his holding cell. Because when I heard that he's complaining over and over again about food, about bananas, I want to get into the head of Dr. Mercado on that one. So I'm going to try to get hold of him and have him come up this week, maybe Monday or Tuesday, to talk a little bit deeper about Bryan. We love him too. And we've given him some.
Dr. Mercado, that is.
Yeah, Dr. Mercado, not Gary.
Not the other person Chris is talking about.
That guy's an idiot. You know, he's going to get a sock routine pretty soon. The prisoners over there, you know, they're going to load their socks with soap, and he'll get a real party. It's coming, trust me. However, we don't wish any harm upon anybody. You know, as they used to say, just shoot them, let God sort them out. Okay? And that's it. You know, remember, honey, 10 years to the day when I was teaching in Nevada, remember at that one class, and my phone goes off, and I picked up and said, hello. And it was my old partner. He goes, hey, did you hear? And I said, hear what? He said, Wilson, you know, took his own 1144 himself in San Quentin. I said, you got to be kidding me. He goes, no. I said, well, there you go. Taxpayer money saved. We'll see what happens. So that said, are you guys ready to go to Hawaii? What a great program tonight. We love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Honey, any closing words?
Just wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving coming up this week, and take care of yourselves and be safe.
Yep. Gobble, gobble.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, yeah. Make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away. You and me go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away, we'll never come down. We're going away, yeah, we're going away, you and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a while.